I did my Max 6, and today is the day after the California Pro, and I'm so excited to do this final part with Gerald, which we didn't even plan actually, but since he won the California Pro Open bodybuilding, we had to do an extra bonus part for you guys. Gerald, congratulations, man! I'm so happy for you. Tell me what's going on right now in your head.
Thanks, Dave. You know, one, I think last night I was super excited, surreal, like, oh my God, I just won my first pro show, and I've qualified for the 2017 Mr. Olympia.
Oh, dude.
Wow, to be on the Olympia stage in September, that's the pinnacle of our sport. That's every bodybuilder's dream about where you want to get to and go. And I'm going. It's really exciting. It blows my mind.
It is so cool,
and I woke
man.
up this morning and I was like, you know, I'm getting ready for the Kansas Pro, the Muscle Mayhem show, Chad Nichols show in 2 weeks. And so I was like, let's put the California Pro on the shelf, and let's get everything we need to get together to get tighter and get better and bring a better package to that stage in 10, 11 days.
Okay, let's talk about that. But before you move forward, I want to talk about, I mean, first of all, I'm so glad that you and Dominic proposed this series leading up to the California Pro, because I thought it was very interesting. It was very different, very unique. And of course, you know, I mean, as we got closer and we kept shooting every month, I was like, man, he's looking really good, and I hope he's going to do well and stuff. But if you ask me, do you think Gerald's going to win the show? I told you, man, I hope he wins, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to show up. It's a tough lineup every year, you know. So, what happened to you when you first get first call out, and you go in there and they start moving you around? Tell me what's going through your head.
So first thing I want to do is thank Dominic, thank you, Dave, thank Muscle Insider. I really appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity when, you know, folks may not have wanted to give me opportunities, and I appreciate that. It means a lot to me to have been able to really share the process that one goes through when they may not be as entitled or privileged to have all the access to things and people, and no one's pushing them to the top. It's so funny, like, over time after time in my career of bodybuilding, I've been like, where'd this guy come from? You can only, like, it's been like 4 times. Like, I'm here. I'm the same person. It happened when I was a teenager. It happened when I came back to the sport. It happened this year again. Like, there's only so many times this guy can be mysteriously and come out of nowhere. Like,
this could happen at the Olympia.
This is me, right?
Unless you keep winning shows, yeah.
You know, like, but, you know, so I want to back up a little bit, actually, till Friday, the athletes meeting. And really, you know, we talked one of the episode series, the importance of mindset. And I want to be really clear, like, it was really, really important for you to be able to visualize your win realistically in your mind, playing your game. I went to the athletes meeting and I was a little thrown off. I was like, I saw people show up that were, in my mind, huge. And I was like, wow, like, they're, you know, this is a wrap. And I was like, no, Gerald, you really need to focus and, you know, play your game, you know, put your effort in. You need to go to work because that's what you train for. No matter who's here, you're not competing against anybody but yourself. And you just want to be your best self, and your best self will get you where you need to go. But it took me a little bit after the athletes meeting to really focus that energy back in. I had to really cut a lot of the external noise and media and all the other things out, and really, you know, focus inward to be able to really channel that and visualize that. And so, you know, we fast forward, we did the things that we do, you know, pretty simple. Keep everything really simple for me, for filling up and drying out, you know, really, really light, simple, easy. And then we move into prejudging, and, you know I spent a lot of time on my posing. I think presentation is such an underlooked factor. We see videos all the time, guys training, you know, guys, I'm struggling, I'm eating, I'm doing cardio. Posing is the art. Posing is the sport. You know, I'm as dedicated to my posing every day as I am to my training every day. I make sure that, you know, Steve Weinberger is known for making guys, like, fall out on stage. So I pose every day as if Steve Weinberger is trying to kill me. And
I hope you're hearing this, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, he's not trying to kill me because I gotta pose harder. But I practice with that in mind, you know, every day, so that way, you know, no matter how many rounds I'm in on stage, you know, I'm rolling, I'm in it. And so I really am dedicated and diligent about that posing. And so for me, it was about, you know, if I could just, you know, my 60 seconds was first. If I could really, you know, show my best poses, hit them, hold them, you know, I know things pop, my muscles expand, I know how my body operates and what it looks like when it comes alive. I felt like that was going to be enough to get me into the first call out. And at that point, I was prepared to work and fight the rest of the way up to first. It just so happened that they put me in the middle and they rotated everyone around me. And I just continued to work and work and work because, you know, once again, I was in shape enough to pose. And I say in shape, my conditioning was there, which is another thing we talked about in a previous episode about how conditioning doesn't mean suffering for hours and hours on end with cardio, because the max cardio I did for the show was 20 minutes. And, you know, Matt Berzicott, who's my coach, who just, I can't say enough about him being a friend, as a coach, as a brother. Like, he made this prep. I probably would have sank my own prep because I wanted to do more than I needed to. And he really dialed me back and kept me right where I needed to be on pace. But with that, I was physically in shape in the sense of my conditioning, but I was also physically in shape in the sense to go round after round, pose for pose, no matter how many times they moved us around. And so that really allowed me to be diligent in that, to hit every pose hard, good transitions. Just, you know, the idea of being a professional is being at the top of your game, and I believe that I brought my best package, complete package, presentation and all, to that stage, and fortunately it was enough to bring home a W and qualify for the Olympics. But
once they tell you first you're in the first call out and they put you in the middle and they start, what goes through your head? What are you thinking? Are you like,
keep working harder, put more distance between me and anybody that might be close?
Gotcha.
I think for me the goal really, when I changed my mindset, like I said, Friday I struggled a little bit, and you know, I think, you know, any champion, you know, that comes out of somewhere, you think, you know, folks don't struggle, it's not a difficult patch. No, it happens to anybody, but it's not about struggling, it's about how you recover from that. Yeah. And so when I had really made my mind up, like, this is my show to win, and that I'm gonna go and, you know, put my best effort forward, and my best has to be enough and good enough in whatever capacity that is. Wow. You know, I knew that I was just gonna outwork everything.
Wow. Talk to me about how you practice for your posing at home. You have some footage from that.
Yeah, I've got there are a couple ways that I practice. I start my posing practice like 6-8 weeks out. Just doing a couple rounds a day, holding them for a little, you know, a little while, everything, and then I up it, you know, 3 rounds a day, 4 rounds a day, 5 rounds a day, holding the poses longer, you know, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and then towards the end, you know, I start, now that, you know, condition-wise, I know I can hit and hold poses. I start to, I have those little Amazon tripods, who actually a friend of mine, IFBB Bikini Pro Christina Wlliams, she was like, hey, you can, you know, look at yourself and study yourself. And I was like, yes, it's a good idea. She's awesome. This one of my inspirations in this sport, and she works so hard, and she's so diligent, and I mean, her mindset is amazing. And so I start filming myself, and just like any good, you know, NFL, NBA, you know, in MLB, you have to study film. And so while I was doing my cardio, I would watch, you know, previous Olympias, to watch how, you know, from 87 pretty much until current, you know, how people would show up in their routines and things like that. And then I would study my own film and dissect the things I needed to do, raise this shoulder, move this lat down, roll this forward, hold this tighter, and start to remember how those things felt, so that I could really become a much better student of the art of posing. And
without the mirror in front of you, because that's different. To pose in front of a mirror and to pose without, it's a big difference. And yeah,
on stage there's no mirror in front of me, so I had to simulate the conditions as best as possible. Sometimes I turned the heat up in the room. I did a lot of things to really simulate. Fortunately, there was a fan on stage, thank God, because it was warm. But I tried to simulate the most challenging conditions, because when you train, right, it's the reason I train in hoodies and sweatpants and things like that, because I'm trying to be focused, and I'm simulating, you know, hardcore conditions about what's going on. My posing is no different. And being as diligent about that as I am about other things, I think it's very, very important to any bodybuilder that has aspirations of competing at any point. Your posing has to become a centerpiece of what you do in your prep.
Talk about when it's the last call out and it's only you and the other guy for top 2. What goes through your head?
You know,
it must be like,
it was interesting. Like they called out 3 people. Charles Griffin, who is turned pro my year, that guy's awesome. You know, Akeem Wlliams, who's a monster. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's huge.
What is he, 280 or something? Something nuts. Yeah.
Monster, like straight up. And you know, we have the same last name, so our comparisons, we were right next to each other. I was like, oh, let's go to work. I was like, I'm not Akeem Wlliams, but I have shape, structure, and conditioning. I'm gonna fight right now. Yeah. That might have been to my benefit, right? You put me next to the biggest guy and see how we show up. Yeah. And then there's Eddie Bracamonte. I think they brought those 3 out.
Big guy too. Yeah.
And I was like, man, you know, like, all right, maybe I made the top 5 somewhere. And they called them out, and they called us, and I was like, oh, when they call out 2, they're trying to figure out what's going on for the top spot. I was like, I'm ready for this moment. The moment could not be too big for me. Wow. I think mentally, as you guys are preparing for, you know, nationals, Canadian nationals, USA's, North Americans, you know, any other pro show, the moment cannot be too big for you. And you have to tell yourself, no matter where you are, this is not too big for you, and you can succeed in that space. You know, luck is opportunity meeting preparation. I was prepared. I had the opportunity to fight for the top 2 spot, so I was going to go to work. And I had to, after prejudging, I had to tell myself, I was like, oh, top 2 is great. I was like, no, Gerald, you came here for blood. You want to go to the Olympia. That was your goal, was to get to the Olympia. So once again, I had to refocus my mind.
Wow.
in quiet time. A lot of refocusing of the mind.
Love that. Reset
and say, I'm going to win the show.
Wow.
And I called Matt. I was like, Matt, what do we do? Like, we want to be a little bit tighter at night. Like, this is how I'm looking right now. You know, and the great thing is Matt and I do my prep through pictures and just how I sound and how I feel. Like I said, he's a friend, he's a brother. I've known him for a long time. Matt Berzicott is a great guy. And so because we have that relationship, like, you know, he's not there with me to really hold my hand. You know, I've kind of, you know, some of it has got to be like, this is what I think. And then we have a relationship. This is Matt, this is what I'm thinking. He's like, yeah, that sounds good. Maybe do this, do that. And then we make adjustments and go from there. So we're like, we want to be tighter. So he was like, whoever's the tightest tonight is going to win this show. And I was like, all right, well, this is what we do. You know, so we made those adjustments, took a little bit of a nap. You know, like I said, I felt really confident, prepared in my posing. I'm never quite really sure if they judge the posing routines or not, but I take the philosophy now as a professional. Anytime I'm on stage, I'm being judged, even if I'm standing off to the side.
Right.
And so I bring that attitude to how I present and pose, because I also, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple guest posing appearances, and so I realize the value of that, you know, and the guys coming up that they want to be here. For me, it doesn't feel far removed to being somebody that's aspiring to be anywhere. Like, I just feel like I'm a normal guy that has done his thing, and I just so happen to be here, but I have that same mindset of being really hungry about, like, I've got to work to get to the top.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I knew that I had to bring it for the night show. I knew that I could bring it for the night show. I knew everybody was going to pose, and my last name is Wlliams, so that means I'm going at the end. There's 20 guys in the show. So I knew I had, you know, I could slow pump, kind of relax a little bit, and really just let my personality come out in my posing routine. And then when they did the confirmation rounds, I was ready to go fight again, you know, because I'd been diligent. I had upped my posing sessions to 2 a day, just like I had 2 a day training, 2 a day posing sessions. So I was ready for morning and night, ready to go again.
Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations, man. I was so happy you won. I had to text you. I'm like, oh my God. And you guys tell me, hey, we got to make it another part, man. We got to tell the story.
You got to tell the story.
Here we are.
You know, hard work doesn't always guarantee the outcome that you want, but it really, really increases your chances.
Yeah. All right. So now, as you said on social media, the win is 3 hours behind me. On to the next, man. We're resetting, and tell me about what's next.
So, you know, just got off the table. Jimmy Bluff. This guy is amazing. World-renowned body worker. Just opened up a bunch of tissue. I mean, I was able to really grow, actually, after starting to see this guy just expanding my body. Very painful, but very well worth it. I mean, growth is painful anyway, so we just kind of do it. But I put that one on the shelf, and really wasn't, you know, I didn't want to say, let me hold it. Let me just hold it for another couple weeks. Like, no. I know there's a lot of areas I can improve upon. You know, I even though I won, I made sure I, you know, got the judges' feedback about what could be improved, right? You know, going to the Olympia, being able to be in that, humbly be in that grouping of the best in the world means that I have to be so much more on. And a way I can start with that is really, you know, what do I bring different? Like, how do I dissect last night or yesterday and bring a better package to the Muscle Mayhem show in Kansas? I think it's June 10th.
Nice.
So that's where we're at now, is really opening the tissue up, making sure there's enough food, rehydrate, get everything rocking and rolling so we can bring a better, tighter, bigger package to that stage.
Gotcha.
More polished. You know, I got off the phone with Kenny Wallach. I was text him. You know, Kenny Wallach, I worked with him right before I turned pro. He helped me with my posing for the North Americans. And just being able to have that critical eye about, hey, how can I manipulate my body a little bit to present it better? You know, I may not be able to grow a lot of tissue in 2 weeks, but I know my presentation can be a lot better. And so really it's about back to work. You know, what's my mindset? That win is in the past. The ultimate goal for the year was accomplished, to getting to the Olympia, waiting for that contract. By the way, whoever's watching this, I do want to do the Arnold Asia. If anybody, whoever's promoting that show, I think it's Tony D. Arnold Asia, Gerald Wlliams, in August, 4 weeks before the Olympia. Let's get that going. But really the focus is that win is behind me, and I want to improve and I want the next time I step on stage to be my best. And so that is where I'm at right now. That win is in the past, and the goals are accomplished, but I have a new goal in front of me right now.
What do you say to people that say, well, the guy just qualified for the Olympia, why would you just not take that time from now to September just to try to make bigger improvement and just go straight there? What do you say to that?
Well, that's the professional bodybuilder, right? I think the sport loses a lot when guys qualify and they just do one show, two shows. On one hand, I mean, it's a dichotomy, right? It's paradigm shift. You've got, on one hand, it opens the door for next man up. Once you've qualified for the O, you go sit down and train. But I'm realistic. I don't anticipate winning Olympia this year. I'm going to bring my best that I can to that stage. But, I got in shape. Let's see what I can do. Let's see how I can improve. The distance between these shows is actually perfect for me. I don't like doing shows back to back. It's really hard for me physically. Kansas is a pretty far trip. It's kind of across the country. So there's enough time. I'm already in shape, and I'm feeling really confident about just doing it. And I want to compete. I like competing. That's the other thing. As a professional, I like competing. Like, I like gearing myself up to go to work like I do. And when I say go to work, I mean that means my research job, that means teaching, that means my businesses, and that means this too, right? And so as a professional, yeah, I think the fans miss out when we do one show and sit down. Like, I had honestly planned to do every show on the calendar.
I remember. This was going to be a marathon.
Yep,
for you.
And reality set in along the way about how physically demanding, because contrary to what I said in the last episode, there was a week of suffering that changed my whole outlook.
Oh, really?
There was a week of suffering that said, Gerald, let's rethink this and how this will be. It was 1 week, but that week was heartwarming.
Tough one. Yeah.
But yeah, so the goal was to get to Olympia, and in the back of my mind, I also felt like I was subversive to my own goal. I wanted to win a show, but I didn't necessarily believe in myself enough to get to a pro win. And so I was thinking I'd have to qualify on points. And I had to really refocus, like I said, and really say, Gerald, your best is good enough to win a show.
That is so cool.
And I had to put that, I had to put everything else, like this whole calendar of shows and this whole plan for the year, I had to put that in a trunk, put it under the bed, lock it away, and focus on every day that was in front of me, preparing for that.
Right.
And that's the only way I was able to get to that. Like, I had this other, like, I couldn't save anything in the tank for how am I going to make it to, the Tampa Pro on August 5th and having done 6 shows before that. I'd empty the tank for that day. And so a lot of mental retooling and just being more focused on the initial goal of let's get to the Olympia. And how do you get to the Olympia? The most parsimonious way, you win a show. My best is enough to win a show. I will be my best and follow that every day. On repeat. It's on repeat every day.
That is so cool, man. I'm so happy for you. I would always love to hear you talk because it's just so much behind all that. And I'm glad that even as smart as you are, you yourself has to, reset sometimes and rethink and readjust. And it's nice to know because you don't have it all figured out. Things change,
No,
so.
I think anybody that you watch these videos of us, pros, and you're like, oh, these guys have it all figured out. They have it all dialed in. I'm learning every day. I struggle. I got to peel myself off the couch and go do stuff. I got to peel myself out of the bed and get up and go to work.
Yep.
I got to peel myself out of the bed and pay bills. There's a lot of things that you just have to do.
Yep.
And some days you do feel a little down, but you have to be willing to resolve as a champion that you can pick yourself up in that next moment and you'll be in a better place. And you have to believe that. And like I said, put on repeat.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to listen to, whatever you have to watch, you've got to find your why for what you're doing. My why was making it to Olympia, and I had to believe in my why and believe in myself enough to push myself to get to that point. Your why may be, winning the Nationals. Your why may be winning the USAs. Your why may be just getting on stage for the first time. Your why may just be getting in shape to go to the beach. Whatever that is, you've got to believe in that why enough that it's got to push you to some points that are painful, because that's the only way that you're going to grow. Growth is challenging. Growth is painful. Growth is difficult. But on the other side of that is, accomplishing something that a lot of people can't accomplish because they're not willing to go through that. And so you guys all can do that.
That's awesome. Gerald, thank you so much for this series, man. I'm sure that I appreciate it, and I'm sure the fans do too. And then on to the next, man. I hope, I can't wait to see you on the Olympia stage. It's going to be so great. And in the meantime, I hope that you win many more shows leading to that.
I do too. I do too. Tony, I want to do the arm raisure. But I just, like I said, I want to say thank you humbly to Muscle Insider for giving me this opportunity to really, this is a 5-part video series, unprecedented.
I think so.
I hadn't come from anywhere, and these guys gave me an opportunity. Dave, Dominic, I've known Dominic since I was 19, And,
yeah, he loves you,
you
man.
know,
Awesome.
I have so much respect for that guy and so much appreciation. So I just want to humbly say thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad I was able to accomplish something in a way that really has some reciprocity for Muscle Insider, and it's a warm place in my heart for you guys. You know, to the fans that have taken the time to support this video series, just understand, you know, like we go through it too, just like everyone else. Like, we're all human, and understand that that's the common denominator. No matter what label or, you know, how many letters you have in front of or after your name, we're all human, and that's the idea, is to be able to create things that help really the human condition for all of us improve.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Gerald. Congratulations again.
Thanks, Dave. All right, guys.